Shoi, ishaloshabde mi jishalonu tavla do lo runbao. Hi, today I want to talk to you about conlangs. This is a hobby of mine. It's something I really enjoy doing. I enjoy learning, constructing, and deconstructing languages. That little bit at the beginning there, that was a constructed language called Lojban, of which I am quite fond. I've been studying that off and on for the past year now, and I find it a fascinating brain exercise at the very least. I feel studying that helps me to keep my brain sharp, which, as the years go on, is quite important. But I wanted to talk about how big conlangs really are, and why you should consider learning one. And conlangs span the entire spectrum of human communication. It's really quite incredible. There are numerous international auxiliary languages. These are things like Esperanto, which is easily the most successful conlang, that was designed to be like I said, an international auxiliary language. What that is that's something that everybody can learn across the world in order to communicate across what would otherwise be language barriers. And there's also been a split of Esperanto, a couple splits. The most noticeable being Ido, or Edo. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I know very little about that language, other than it is a fork of Esperanto and also aspires to be an international auxiliary language. There's also artistic languages. These are ones that you'll find in popular culture. These are the ones like Dothraki from Game of Thrones, Na'vi from Avatar, and of course the Tolkien languages, Sindarin and Quenya from Lord of the Rings. And these are fascinating experiments as well, mostly because they're designed to sound a certain way rather than accomplish a certain goal, like Esperanto and being that international auxiliary language. Instead, they're just designed to evoke a certain aesthetic. And what's really cool is that the communities around these artistically driven languages have really thrived, and there are full dictionaries out there for these languages. These are actually usable. You can learn it and hold a conversation in it. Last time I checked, Dothraki had over 1,300 words in its dictionary, which is pretty impressive considering that not all of that came from the writers of the show, and that the community is helping, fans of the show, fans of the language, they're helping to fill in the holes in the language. And I think that's pretty cool. There's also logical languages, and this is what I was speaking earlier. Lojban is definitely the most successful logical language. It is a fork of Loglan, which was started in the 50s, but these languages aim to make communication more logical, more precise. It's the precision that they're really going for there. And I would say Lojban does a fairly good job at that. It's not perfect. It's got its flaws, etc., etc. But I think it fairly close to nails the mark on the intended goals there. The cool thing I love about Lojban, though, is that the entire language is parsable by a computer. What this means is that you can plug a chunk of Lojban text into a computer program, and it will be able to pick apart the grammar and show you exactly what's going on. It can tell you if it's a correct sentence. In the same way that you would compile a program, you can sort of compile Lojban. And it's meant to be a spoken language. So I think that facet is very, very cool. Of course, at the very end here, I have to take a moment to talk about the language that I'm currently working on, and it is one of these artistic languages. I'm going from a certain aesthetic more than anything, and also I wanted to target ease of learning. I wanted to make a language for people who aren't into languages, as sort of an introductory thing, and I know that's been done before. Shout out to the language Toki which I believe only has 130 words or so. It's easily learnable in a couple days. So if you want something really easy to get your feet wet, Toki is where you go. I wanted to design the next step after Toki Pona. Okay, you got your feet wet. Conlangs are cool. Next, what are you going to learn? Well, you're going to learn my language, and it's called Vashto. And it borrows some grammar from Lojban, so it's sort of logical in that sense. It is not parsable by a computer, though, unfortunately. But I derived the sounds, and this is the cool part, I derived the sounds from a mixture of Tolkien's Sindarin and Russian. So it almost sounds like, if Tolkien's elves lived in Siberia or, somewhere in Russia, this might be what they would speak. Another interesting feature of the language is it only has 3 verbs: to think, to do, and to be. Because every statement we make in communication can be boiled down to one of those things. You're either thinking something, you're doing something, or you are something. But yeah, if you haven't checked out conlanging, and maybe you're looking for a new hobby, it's definitely got my recommendation. It keeps me busy. It's a good time. And, it feels like it's always nice to learn something new. And if you want to know any more about any of the languages I talked about in this video, links will be in the description box down below so you can get started on learning some new stuff.